Okay, well, Lucifer here. I'm sort of making this video in response to, I know it's a vlog and shit, it's really surprising. My mic doesn't actually work, you know. It's unsurprising, really. Something of mine doesn't work. I'm pretty sure this camera is going to spontaneously combust at some point, halfway through this video. But anyway, there was a video that came out a while ago, back in, June or July of last year, a video by the Anonymous Message YouTube channel, I think. The video is basically entitled A Message from Anonymous to the People of Iran. I'm pretty sure I've got that right. And basically the video is instigating or encouraging the people of Iran to sort of protest and rise up against oppression by the regime. You know, the sort of, well, oppression that, by the way, we should probably establish, you know, right about now before we get into things that probably wouldn't have happened without, you know, the good old intervention and help of America and Israel and their sort of doubled or coupled foreign policies. But yeah, the video, basically, it speaks out against the silencing of social media outlets and journalists and sort of brutal means of sort of punishment in Iran for these kinds of things. And, you know, like I said before, it encourages the people of Iran to start speaking out against this stuff. And while I'm not wholly opposed to peaceful protest in Iran, what I am opposed to is a violent revolt, which I think is what Anonymous were getting at, or a total overthrow of the regime, which, you know, the people have every right to. Keep in mind, however, that that was how this regime sort of started. They overthrew the Western puppet, the Shah, and installed their own sort of guy, you know, which is basically one of the main reasons as to why America and Israel have been so set on, you know, calling Iran the devil, and you know, oh my God, they butcher they butcher people in general. Basically, they're a bunch of mad butchers and the like, ruled by an even madder dictator. I was reading a book about that from that perspective, actually. The Secret War with Iran. I forget the name of the author now, but it's basically it's written by an Israeli journalist, and the whole thing's just a massive pro-Israel, America propaganda piece, and it tries to build up the Shah as this sort of weakened old man who didn't know what he was doing and what was going on in the regime. Sorry, my voice is cracking like hell. My balls are non-existent, you see. But anyway, I won't get into too much detail about that. But it's part of the attempt to build up support for America and Israel's sort of extreme policies towards Iran that they've been doing recently, what with the sanctions and the like. In fact, one of the main reasons as to why they're in such a big dictatorship right now is because of these sanctions. I'd imagine, and many would imagine, and it's fact, basically. You know, they've slowly been strangling the country in the name of curbing Iran's ability to produce weapons of mass destruction. You know, good old weapons of mass destruction. I'm sure they've got a Death Star tucked under their skirts somewhere. You know, and halting the nuclear program, which is apparently a massive threat to the world, which doesn't even make sense. We've starved them so much now, in a way that's basically only hurting the people and not the government anyway, that even if they did develop nuclear weapons, the chances of it being a threat to anyone would be incredibly slim. And the only reason as to why they'd want to blow us up in the first place is because we've been treating them like this, or the regime like this. But, okay, so let me try and get back on point. I really don't know. So yeah, I was saying about the dangers of instigating a violent revolution in Iran, or a complete overthrow of the regime, and the issue here being that if we did do that, it'd make it easier for America and Israel, which, in my opinion, and the opinion of many again, are the two countries that are the biggest threats to peace right now. across the globe. Essentially, they've been stomping on, all opposition that they can find. They've sort of been just tag teaming the rest of the world, really. And it's been causing chaos in the Middle East especially. And, if there was a regime change in Iran right now, they'd be so weak. They've only managed to hold out for so long against constant proxy wars and sanctions instigated by the West, that if they were to get overthrown now, if it was a violent revolution, for example, it'd get thrown up into so much chaos that the Americans and the Israelis could find just an easy reason to storm Iran and take what they've been after. Take what they've been after. I mean, I thought, what was it? Iran's sitting on it's sitting on one of the biggest oil reserves. That's what I read, at least, which is why some people think that they're actually going in there. But if you watch, if you do some more research about it, watch some stuff like SCG, of course, he's like the go-to guy. You'll find out that Iran's one of the biggest threats to the petrodollar right now, which is what this is all about, essentially. It's US financial dominance. If the regime did get overthrown, it'd be so weak and unstable that Israel and America could just storm right in there, establish a central bank or whatever, restore it to the petrodollar, and strengthen their regime, strengthen their sort of grasp on, the world as a whole and their power for an even more extended period of time. So that's what I was getting at here. That's why a revolution in Iran wouldn't necessarily be a good thing. On one hand, you might temporarily have the freedom of the people, but soon after that, America and Israel would swoop in and intervene, and take over. Essentially, they'd install a dictator, much like they did with the Shah. They'd install someone who'd be willing to do their bidding, a Western puppet, which would arguably be, the only thing more dangerous than a regular dictator is a dictator under the control of Israel and America. While America and Israel are still stable, if Iran were to lose its power and its ability to defend itself, it'd only strengthen their grasp on the region and therefore the world. And it'd also help with their pivot to Asia. America's slowly been encircling China for years now, and that's been heating up. You'll see on my Cold War news series. And it'd be a major disaster for all of us, and a major loss to the world if Iran were to have its defenses pulled down and were to be completely thrown into chaos. It'd be just as bad as a US invasion, actually, if all of these nuclear talks fail. So yeah, that's my opinion on the matter. That's why we can't exactly just go about, instigating this revolution in Iran right now, because, well, it might look good at temporarily, or might look good if you're, if you zoom out a bit and look at the sort of geopolitical implications, it's really bad. Okay, that's what I was getting at, essentially, which is why, before we start encouraging things like that, we need to wait a little longer. We need time for the pieces to fall into place, even more, and to help those pieces along ourselves, of course. I'll try my best, not that I'll be able to do much. Okay, so that's what I was getting at, essentially. If you believe I'm wrong, then, leave a comment down below and tell me so, tell me how you think I'm wrong.